How's it going? I hope you're able to get a look at what's behind me. Anyway, so today I want to talk about Mars Needs Women. And I have up there listed Tommy Kirk and Yvonne Craig, who are the main stars or, well, yeah, they're the main stars and they're probably the ones that people will have any knowledge of today, unless, I don't know. It came out in 1967, so I didn't mention the other people in it, the rest of the cast, because they are likely deceased, more than likely deceased. And I don't mean any offense to their descendants by not including them, but I don't think that really anyone is going to know who they are. But I am including a trailer in the information box for this video, and so if you would like to know more, you can rock your little search bar and go to IMDb just like I did and look at cast and crew. So, uh, yeah, that. So yeah, Mars Needs Women. Okay, so I've been wanting to do something about the way women are written in media in general, but mainly like what I do here, movies and television and the occasional book talk. But it's the portrayal of women, I guess, juxtaposed to the way women are viewed and treated in, in and by various segments of society. And I didn't know how to kick it off. Like, I know what I wanted to do, but so I just decided to watch this movie for kicks, really, because it's uh, just funny in retrospect to look at the concept of the future. And there was some interesting, whoa, here we go again, knocking stuff all over the place. But there were some interesting points to, uh, sorry, to examine. Okay, so I'm going to start. I'm like getting ahead of myself, so I'm going to consult my notes here and try to go on the trajectory that I actually kind of scripted for myself. So, I like to watch these old things too because they're like the social archaicisms. Is that a word? It is now. uh, and just like the sci-fi, the visual effects, the sci-fi, it's improved by leaps and bounds. It's funny to look back at. So, okay. Obviously from the title, Mars Needs Women, and here's why it became the opening to like my how women are written kind of series, I guess. Number one is because, okay, Mars is running out of women, or they can't breed, or I don't know what the problem is, but they need some new woman blood, and the humans are like the closest genetically, and the scientists on Mars believe that if they breed with the woman, like however they're going to do it, they didn't really go into detail if it was going to take place in the bedroom or in the lab. Although you wonder, I'll get to that later. Um, but they come here and they're like, okay, we are going to ask the leaders of the planet, all men, most, yeah, well, at that time, all men, like, there may have been some clerical staff that were female, and there may have been some even minority women like mathematicking, Earth to the moon, but you didn't hear about it back then. There was a very certain lens nozzle that all information went through and kind of still does a little bit. But anyway, so the Martians were just going to come here and consult the menfolk. Like, and the Martians were all, well, we're going to ask, if we can, like, take some of your women. I think they wanted five, but I could be wrong, and that could have been them being misleading too. At any rate, they came and asked the men. They're all, we will ask you first, but if you decline, we're just going to take them anyway. And I'm like, proto humans. Because the story also is very much like a story in, I'm going to call it reality because I believe this is the case. And there's a lot of people who think it's nutball, and that's totally fine. I don't need them to believe what I believe for me to be able to believe it. It's okay. I don't need training wheels. So there is a star system called Zeta Reticuli, and from there are reputed to be a species called the Zetas, who we call the Greys. And there's a lot of stories about Greys, and they're not just one species of Greys, quote, because that's kind of a umbrella. I would think it's a pejorative to them, but they may not care because are we humans focus on petty, stupid stuff, so they might be above that. Anyway, the reason allegedly why the Greys are here or have come here, I think they've been run off the planet by now. Like, I'm not sure. There's also a lot of stories about that. They're gone. The evil ones are gone. They're still fighting the evil ones here on Earth. Like, it's very confusing. I just am like, I'll take whatever sounds rings true and move on. Like, even I have a threshold of what I can buy, what I can believe, but I can believe this. So the Greys, the Zetas. Oh, that's Spanish, but okay. So the Zetas come and they need to replenish their genetics because they can't breed anymore. I don't know the specific science of it, but it's something to do with reproduction that they can't do anymore, and they need females to do it. Well, they don't specifically say they need females like these Martians in this movie do. It's just that they do take females, and you've heard the stories about women saying they've been abducted when they were pregnant, and then they like have a terrible dream where they're like having horrible surgeries by monsters in a spaceship, and they go to the doctor the next day and there's like nothing in there, and like, yeah, the hysterical pregnancy, even though like that same doctor may have done the ultrasound and seen the months worth of growth and symptoms and everything. Like, I mean, is that how a virgin birth happened? Like, was Jesus inserted? But anyway, okay, don't go off another rat hole. So, but the Greys, evidently, the story is they came here because they were trying to like replenish their genetics and still be able to like breed and go on. But another part of it is that there are some form of human way down the line in the future, and they've essentially time traveled back, or I don't know. I don't want to get into space travel and time and how long it takes to get from their star system to this one and all of that stuff, because they know stuff we don't, and obviously they can go a lot faster. Or from what I've uh, been able to glean, they don't even need a ship a lot of times. So there's a lot of theory, there's a lot of story on this stuff, but that's pretty steady a thing that the Greys came here because they needed genetic material, and that may also be what's up with the cow mutilations and things like that. That I can't ever get like my finger on really clearly, but I also have stopped watching like a lot of volume of that stuff because it's just maddening because of those like offshoots into shit you can't answer. So in order to give my little brain a rest, I just kind of like way backed off of it. But there's that story about the Greys, like, and that's like real life stuff. Even if like you don't believe in the whole premise of the Greys and their problem or their existence, that exists in reality. the Mars thing is a fabrication, right? It's fiction. Somebody made it up. But it isn't that interesting that the two stories exist in the same reality, to varying degrees of reality. Okay, so that was it was just I thought very human of the Martians to be, oh, we are just gonna come talk to the men and take the women without talking to the women. I'm like, really? We have not advanced, like we're future you, and we haven't advanced beyond like we are. We don't want to let the women do too much except keep the home, raise the children, but like they're not smart enough to vote and do it. It was like, oh my god. Okay, sorry. So that was funny. And then so the women though, I feel two ways about this. The women that the Martians chose were actually like really accomplished, healthy, athletic, brilliant, funny, like all, beautiful, of course, all of the good things that you would want in a potential mate, even if it's another species from yours. And one of the characters, played by Yvonne Craig, the other actor I have listed on the board there, is a professor. And wait, what's her area of expertise? Oh, I didn't even look that up. Um, I can't remember. It was it was sciency for a woman at the time. But like if it were a real scientist woman, it was like she worked for Cosmo in the science section. But again, it was from 1967, so don't don't get all bent out of shape about stuff that is old and dumb. But anyway, that in that context, she was really kind of elevated. In fact, all of the women that the movie put forward as candidates for the Martians to basically kidnap and you know keep and I guess rape. I don't know. Could go that way, but maybe not. Maybe not. We don't know yet. But the other thing that bothered me about their selection process was that it was very meritocracy looking and seeming, which just just by virtue of like what it does is there are going to be people that are going to be found insufficient and be cut out. Although when you have rigid standards for things like beauty and intelligence and so on, then you are, you know, I would say harming yourself by limiting diversity to like do a survival of the fittest situation on like your evolution, like add what is good and helpful and eliminate or just like breed out what doesn't work anymore, isn't good for anything anymore, serves no one, serves no purpose rather. uh Also, meritocracy is a pretty human thing as far as I know. I mean, we totally do it, so it's human like. um but the thing about the way the women are portrayed in this is that considering the time, and the time being like the time when the women's movement is about to begin. It's like at the advent of the women's movement, the birth of it, or like just before it even. Well, 67 women were. I don't think we were quite burning bras yet, but it was free love and definitely women opening up their wings and saying, "I can do more than have kids and vacuum and cook your food." you know, so be your trophy, make you look good. How about me? How about doing something for me for a change? I mean, I do a lot of work. I get no credit. What is your problem? Oh, sorry, sorry. That's me stuff. Okay. Anyway, but the women in the movie were actually kind of elevated for the time, especially given what I said about like I think I don't know if 3, 4, or 5 years ago the movie came out with they were talking about the Apollo space program, and there were like I think a few black women that actually were like computational people, experts, doers, whatever. I mean, they like came up with the math. They, explained it to everybody else, and it was crucial to the ships getting off the ground. I cannot remember the name of it. It had. I'll put a link of it in the description box, and I have to write myself a note to do that. Something numbers movie black computation Apollo. Oops, that's not how you spell it. There we go. Link. There. All right. Obey. Okay, so sorry about that little interruption. So let me complete the notes again. What was the next thing I wanted to babble about? No, it's ingrained into the human process, but it's old and stale, and it's evident today. Women and men are all squirming uncomfortably in their traditional roles. Well, I'd say these days, as compared to when this movie came out, we're like busting all kinds of out of our traditional roles, men and women, and that is confusing the a lot of people and making them very uncomfortable because seeing a trans person come to terms with who they are and completely detached from the person and physiology that they were born with, that they have been living in, feeling so completely out of place and uncomfortable, is possibly making the people that are getting so angry uncomfortable because it's forcing them to subconsciously look at things about themselves that they might want to change in the same kind of way or look at or like explore, but there's a lot of constrictions we place upon ourselves so we don't, and I think that makes us angry. So that's what I think that is. The end of that rant. Any rant. Okay, so blah blah blah. What am I talking about here? Oh yeah, so they came and they said, okay, we'll ask you, but we'll just do it anyway. If you say no to the men, the Martians came and made this request. What do you call it? Decorative request. Like one of those doctorates for people, like a Bill Cosby doctorate. Like, dude dropped out of college, but they gave him a doctorate because he's funny, but now he is not at all funny. But yeah. uh, so they're like, we're just gonna ask the men. I do not remember them expressly asking a single woman. I could be wrong. I did not go back looking for that. I could have just glossed right over it, but I doubt it because I was like, you're not even gonna, you're not even gonna ask the women themselves. Like they're the ones that gotta go be with you. I didn't really care for that. So the professor character played by Yvonne Craig, like I said, she's a main character. So that's kind of what's going on with her and like the context of what's going on around her. Tommy Kirk, on the other hand, is one of the Martians, and his name is Dot. But right away, they realize that while they're in the process of trying to make this transaction, they're going to have to blend in with the humans, and they have to change their form slightly. They're not terribly different, which is probably why the whole genetic thing would work out. Excuse me, now like I'm getting it's choking me. Well, that's not a good thing to drink. Cold coffee. Um, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, yeah. They had to blend in with the humans, and so in the process, uh, Dop, which is Tommy Kirk's character, has to adopt a human persona. So he kind of like does a walk-in kind of a situation, um, and takes over the life of a reporter named Fast. I can't remember his first name, so Mr. Fast. And while he's doing that, he's getting intel on how like the process is going with the humans. Like, are they gonna like give over the women, or are we gonna have to just take them? And he's also there to kind of like you know sugarcoat the thing and try and lure them in, like make everyone want to agree with it. But what happens, what ends up happening in the process is that, well, first, Dop says to Professor Bolin that on his planet they haven't like dealt with each other in terms of saying "I love you" or even feeling or having that emotion anymore. They just kind of let it fall away like a tail, like we did with tails. But spending time with Dr. Bolin, Dop slash Fast, realizes that it's really pleasant to spend time falling in love with a woman, which is what starts happening to him. And, when your eyes grow fonder of a person, it changes your outlook on the world, their world, your world. I mean, let's face it, it does happen. So he begins to see, like, it's not really loving to kidnap a woman and haul her away for breeding and not even ask her. Like, ask the dude that has nothing to do with her before you ask her, like, hello, meathead. So at some point, the situation starts going bad for the Martians, and the Americans are like, okay, we don't want you here. You guys got to go. And they're about to have like a conflict. And as for some reason has happened in the two that I've watched and done these kind of little reviews on, the Martians end up just going away and going, oh, okay, all right, well, this is not working out, which is not at all, especially in this one. I cannot remember right now the name of the other movie, but it's on my channel. It may be on my other channel, which is Kathy Sample without a number because it's the first one. So if you're interested, you could find it over there. I just did it a couple of months ago. It's another movie from the 60s, another sci-fi, where in that one they needed uranium, and then there could have been a war about it, and then the aliens didn't end up getting any, and they're just like, didn't end up getting any, and we're just all right, forget it. See you guys later. So I thought that was really weird because, well, getting back to the one I'm talking about today, kind of the same thing happened. It's like Dop sacrificed himself because he fell in love with Marjorie or Dr. Bolin because she professed her love to him, and that's where the whole, well, we don't do I love you and love on our planet anymore. That's where the whole conversation sprung from. So this goes bad too. They don't end up. I think they end up getting like one woman, uh, or I think it was going to be Marjorie actually, or Dr. Bolin. And then Doc's like, "No, this isn't cool. You can't take her." And he's like, "Look, you're gonna stay here. I'm gonna go like mess them up and make them leave." And so what they end up doing is like, going, oh, dang it. Now we don't even get the woman all because of you, Dop, you dummy. What's the matter with you? And come on, we're just going to go. And they left. And I'm laughing because I'm thinking of like a Michael Bay situation. Like if he had anything to do with it, you know, explosions like 4th of July holidays